XRP futures are launching tomorrow, and there's plenty of buzz about how this could shake up XRP's price. In this video, I'll dive into my thoughts on what might unfold, and as a bonus, I'll share a fascinating post from David Schwartz where he discusses why a high XRP price really matters. We've got two big topics to unpack, so stick with me. You won't want to miss a second of this. Let's dive right in. XRP futures are going live tomorrow, and social media is absolutely buzzing about it. But many are speculating that this could have a major impact on XRP's price, and the excitement is hard to ignore. Here's why this matters. It's a huge step forward for institutional adoption. Right now, a lot of financial institutions can't directly hold cryptocurrencies like XRP in their portfolios, but they still want in on the action. Why? Because crypto has been one of the best performing asset classes in the world for years, and no one wants to feel like they're missing the boat. With XRP futures, these institutions can finally gain exposure to crypto prices without having to hold the assets themselves. This could be a game changer for the market, and it's happening tomorrow. When you're a major financial institution, your focus isn't on tracking every cryptocurrency out there. You've got bigger priorities, but you will pay attention to the ones you can actually access. For the first time ever, many of these crypto-curious institutions now have the means to gain exposure to XRP's price, and once they dip their toes in, it's likely to spark curiosity, pulling them deeper into the XRP ecosystem. The more they learn, the more it could lead them to take the next step owning spot XRP. This could be the beginning of a game-changing shift. XRP futures are paving the way for stronger institutional strategies, unlocking new opportunities for financial institutions. The futures market plays a critical role in hedging, offering flexibility for institutions that want exposure to XRP but need tools to manage risk effectively. This new product brings powerful options to the institutional market, and its launch on the CME is a clear signal. Major players are stepping in. Behind the scenes, the growing demand for these futures highlights the increasing adoption of XRP within the financial world, marking an exciting step forward for the industry. This isn't something that would be happening without real demand. There's clearly a strong appetite for trading these assets. And now the big moment is here. Tomorrow, XRP futures officially go live on the CME, the most influential derivatives market in the world. This is a major milestone for institutional adoption of XRP, signaling that large players are actively seeking exposure to its price movement. But the big question is, how will this impact XRP's price? Will it shoot upward or dip downward? To get a sense of what might happen, we need to look at the past and see what history tells us. Back in 2018, something big happened to Bitcoin. CME futures went live. At the time, Bitcoin was sitting around $15,000, 0 cents, then suddenly spiked to $20,000, 0 cents, before crashing back down. If you were into crypto then, you probably remember the buzz. People blamed CME futures for the crash, claiming they gave financial institutions a way to short Bitcoin without actually owning it. It sparked a fiery debate. Was it the futures market that sent Bitcoin tumbling, or was something else at play? While some dismissed the idea, others believed the futures gave institutions the tools to short Bitcoin and then manipulate the market to cash in on their bets. Whether true or not, one thing was clear: CME futures changed the game. Here's a fascinating case of how futures markets can influence crypto prices. Take, for instance, when Bitcoin futures went live. It actually caused a negative price impact, pulling prices down. Now compare that with Ethereum futures. When they launched, Ethereum saw a notable price pump. It wasn't a meteoric rise, but the futures did bring more stability and a noticeable price increase. Then we have Solana futures. When they went live, well, crickets. There wasn't much movement at all. Perhaps it's because there wasn't significant trading activity around Solana derivatives, or maybe it just didn't hold enough sway to make a difference for Solana's price. So what about XRP futures? Let's manage expectations here. Could they positively impact XRP's price? Sure, it's possible, but don't expect an immediate moonshot just because these futures hit the market. History shows us that the impact of futures can vary widely, and sometimes it's a lot less dramatic than we hope. Can we really look at the past and say, this is exactly what's going to happen here? Not quite. Sure, we've seen how things played out with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, but there's no guarantee history will repeat itself. Let me be clear about that. That said, I do believe this could have a hugely positive impact over the long run. The fact that it's happening at all signals a massive step forward in institutional adoption. It's a big deal. But don't expect a line of 45 financial institutions on Monday morning, fingers hovering over the buy button, ready to pounce the moment things go live. They're not scrambling for instant price exposure just yet. The people already involved with XRP likely know exactly how to get their hands on it. But now a wave of financial institutions could see this and think, why aren't we in on XRP yet? That's the real game changer happening here. Even the institutions already familiar with XRP might say, wait a second, this opens the door to creating 3 or 4 new products to maximize the value of our XRP holdings. It's all about expanding potential. With XRP futures going live tomorrow, this marks a huge moment for bridging the gap between traditional finance and the crypto world. It's an exciting step forward for XRP in this evolving industry. But hey, am I going to sit here and say, all right, buckle up, prices are about to skyrocket tomorrow? Absolutely not. You know me, this is all about the long game. When it comes to playing the long game, there's no one better to pay attention to than David Schwartz. That's exactly why I wanted to share this with you. At the end of this video, especially after diving into the futures market, I know a lot of you are probably asking, when is it finally going to happen? What's going to be the catalyst? What's going to send XRP soaring? But here's the thing. Most people don't realize how this market truly operates. It's unlikely that a big public news event will be the spark that sets XRP on fire. The reality is, insiders often know what's coming before anyone else. The market has a way of sniffing out changes before they're officially announced. Things start moving, momentum builds, and by the time a catalyst actually happens, the market's already ahead of the game. That's just how markets work. Smart money figures it out first, and then the rest follow. Everyone's been hyped, waiting for the day futures go live, but let's be real. This isn't some shocking plot twist. Everyone saw it coming. Thinking it's going to shake up the market overnight is just not how things work. People have known these futures were coming for what feels like forever. Unless the trading volume blows expectations out of the water, it's not likely to move the needle much because the market has already baked it in. Now, if something truly surprising happened, like the Federal Reserve suddenly announcing plans to integrate XRP just because futures are live, well, that would be a whole different story. Spoiler alert, that's not happening. It's all about perspective. The announcements we're getting tomorrow might matter for long-term adoption, but don't expect the market to go wild unless it's caught completely off guard. Let's dive into what David Schwartz has to say because it's key to understanding why, despite recent discussions, I firmly believe XRP is headed for much higher prices in the future. Schwartz himself highlights this in a way that really clicks. Points out that a higher XRP price directly benefits Ripple by increasing the value of its XRP holdings. This boost gives Ripple more muscle to incentivize partners and improve liquidity. Plus, it allows Ripple to generate more revenue through XRP sales. Higher value often brings more liquidity and trading volume, so it's a win-win. XRP already checks all the boxes to be a strong intermediary asset, but Schwartz notes that its growth will initially depend on the availability of liquidity in major corridors. The higher XRP climbs, the more flexibility Ripple gains to tackle larger corridors. And let's face it, Ripple's success is partly driven by how people perceive its momentum. If you believe Ripple's payment technology is the future, you'll invest the time, money, and effort to integrate and deploy it. But if you think Ripple is just smoke and mirrors, you'll likely steer clear, maybe not even give it a second glance. Love it or hate it, XRP's price seems to act as a barometer for Ripple's current and future success. Here's why price matters. Holding XRP isn't costly, and a higher price reduces volatility on similar size sales. In simple terms, as long as XRP's price trends upward, hedging against volatility becomes easier and cheaper. Think about Bitcoin when it was worth $1, 0 cents. No one could imagine using it for something like buying a house. Now, large trades are commonplace. And here's the kicker. For bigger transactions to work smoothly, you need higher value. The higher XRP's price climbs, the greater the payments Ripple can handle. Think of it like this. When you're eyeing exponential growth, even a small boost at the start can snowball into massive gains down the road. And here's the key takeaway. Price matters. As XRP's value rises, so does its capacity to process larger dollar volume payments on the XRP ledger. A higher price means bigger transactions, higher volumes, and the ability to attract major institutions for global settlement. These two factors, XRP's price and its adoption, are deeply intertwined. The more financial institutions leverage the XRP ledger, the more liquidity flows into XRP, enabling it to handle increasingly larger transactions over time. This compounding effect could position XRP as a global settlement standard for the entire financial system. This long-term vision isn't about quick, overnight gains or flashy announcements. It's about fundamentally upgrading the way the system works, piece by piece. Instant, decentralized liquidity settlement at scale, that's the game-changing shift the financial system desperately needs. And honestly, No asset comes close to achieving this quite like XRP. While I'm pumped for futures going live tomorrow, I want to level expectations. It's not about expecting an overnight spike on the XRP price chart. What truly excites me is the long-term potential of XRP to transform the legacy infrastructure of the financial system. Imagine a decentralized neutral asset capable of managing global liquidity with instantaneous settlements. That's the real revolution. Sure, developments like this take time to evolve and fully materialize, but the moment the market starts to see it in action, that's when the real fireworks will begin. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you found this update as exciting as I did.